vote our agenda items. Item number 1 is the minutes of some previous meetings, 10/20, 10/21, 10/22, and 11/10 of 2020, all of which are in the meeting packets. Any revisions or corrections necessary to any of the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve them all. Motion by Herbst, second by Martins. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Oh, comment, Deb? Go ahead.
Since I have been doing that virtually and sometimes had issues, I guess I'd rather abstain because at times I wasn't aware of what was going on.
Totally fine. Okay, so then we'll record the minutes approved 4-0 with 1 abstention. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action on the purchase of animal impoundment services through an agreement with the Humane Society of Marathon County Incorporated. And you'll recall that for the last, good number of years, we've had a contract with the Humane Society whereby dogs that are held for cause and taken to the Humane Society are serviced under contract for us, and so it's time to renew that at the end of each year. And you've got the information on that contract renewal in your packets. Does anyone have questions on the contract or on animal control's use of the shelter? If not, is there a motion to approve the renewal of the contract? There's a motion by Martins. Is there a second? Second by Ryan. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? None are opposed. That item is approved. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding the sole source purchase of 3 software programs for support of operations, training, and inspections with the Wausau Fire Department. We do have Deputy Chief Bartek with us this evening in person, and we have Chief Kujawa on WebEx if anyone has questions for them on this purchase. They received a grant for one of the items that we had earmarked CIP funding for, and so they are asking to repurpose those funds for software programs that will replace their firehouse software. The company's been purchased and they're no longer supporting that software according to the packet materials. Does anyone have questions for the fire department on these items? And I did ask if they had circled back through IT with those items just to make sure that there wasn't any conflict between any of these programs and other things that need to be interfaced with, and they do have IT looped in on their communications. Is there a motion to approve the purchase? Motion by Herbst. Is there a second? Second by Watson. Further discussion?
I got a
Go ahead, Mike.
question. Is this, now, this is the money that, for the CIP that they asked for in July of this year, correct, for the 2021 budget? Or is this money, is this a carryover that they haven't spent in?
I believe it's 2020's budget. Right.
Mary Ann would be the better one for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was for the automatic CPR devices. We were able to successfully secure an AFG grant for those devices, and so we do not need the CIP funding for that. And coincidentally, with the announcement that Firehouse won't be supported past the end of 2021, really forced our move as part of our phase-in to move more into the image trend product for our fire EMS and rescue reporting, and then found a couple other softwares for the other ones. So.
Okay, because I remember there was a CIP request for the CPR machines this year also.
We made the request for 2020.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Good deal.
Okay. And so this would repurpose those funds, but keep them within the fire department. Okay. And so we did have a motion and a second. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries. Item number 4 is discussion and possible action authorizing 2020 budget modification for Wausau Area Access Media to upgrade the playback system. And you've got some packet materials there that explain the need for them to improve some of these systems so that they can continue to broadcast all of our meetings and use our charter public access channels. We do have Chris Berg's available from Public Access if you guys have questions for him on any of the materials. Oh, Dave Dickinson is back there, never mind. You're right, Dave Dickinson is back there. So does anyone have questions for Dave about the purchase of this item? If not, is there a motion to approve the purchase? Motion by Ryan, is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Martins?
And actually, and I would, with my second, I would recommend that we go with the option 2,
Okay,
in that since the city will be shutting down the Vibit service, we need to look at our own on-demand media server to store our videos, because free storage on YouTube, while it may be free in the short term, is not, once you upload something to a third-party server, it's no longer yours, it's theirs. So we need to control access to our media so we can more appropriately share and distribute it without the worry or fears of a third party shutting us down. So
I agree. And Dave Dickinson is in the booth nodding as well. I believe he agrees with you on that
Yeah.
too. So, then we'll record that we've got a motion and a second to approve option 2 as outlined in the meeting packet. Any additional comments or questions? If not, members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That motion carries as well.
Yep, and just for clarification, this carries with it a budget modification, and that would be presented at council this evening because there's a time, component to this,
Okay,
so.
yep. So we'll take that at
generally
the
we
next
don't
meeting
do
as well.
that, But we are this time.
Okay, not a problem. Item number 5 is discussion and possible action on the 2021 budget. And I believe we have that one in just for some last-minute updates, if we have some updated numbers for benefit plan enrollments and things.
Yes, there weren't, so in your packet is the resolution, and also we now have received all of the other taxing jurisdictions levies that need to be assessed against City of Wausau property owners. And so we did outline those individual changes as well. You can see that in general, the tax rate is going down by parcel, the assessed tax rate between somewhere like the lowest was 6.38% by Marathon County, and the largest decrease was 7.68% by North Central Technical College, for an average tax rate decrease in the Wausau School District of 7%, and then in the DC Everest School District, 6.55%. And this year, again, just as a reminder, because all parcels within the city have been revaluated, that 7% reduction in the assessed tax rate is going to affect each parcel differently. So, if your value went up substantially more than average, you're probably going to see still an increase, but there's no way we can actually tell people what each property is how that's going to be impacted. A couple other little changes. As you can see, the school credit, and that is applied to each parcel, and it serves to decrease the K-12 school district tax rate, and that comes from the state of Wisconsin. That went down in 2020, so it increases increases the tax rate. So in 2019, that credit was $1.87 per thousand. In 2020, it's at only $1.68. So that impacted, and that's included in our computation above. So that did, I guess, serve to decrease the school tax rate savings. And then the lottery credit, which is applied to permanent residences within Wausau and the state of Wisconsin, you can see that went down also, which will cause increase in what people will have to pay $33.54 in the Wausau School District, and $29.49 in the DC Everest. And the first dollar credit, which is also a credit that comes from the state of Wisconsin and serves to reduce people's real estate tax bill, that also went down, $3.56 in the Wausau School, excuse me. Sorry. Little fibers from the mask, probably.
Oh, no, you're good.
And it went down $2.59 for the DC Everest School District. The first dollar credited.
Okay.
As far as the total levy, the resolution said $30,580,995. We did get our final forms from the DOR yesterday, and there's a slight rounding adjustment when we use that form. So it's 993.93, so $1.07 change, just rounding.
Okay.
We didn't find that there were any significant changes with enrollment,
Okay.
so no change to report there.
Okay. So then going forward, it is good for us to be able to recognize that we've had enough growth in our community in terms of property value that we can experience a mill rate decrease. I think that's a positive. Anybody have questions for Mary Ann about this report? Deb, go ahead.
We had talked about the videographer and putting some additional dollars with an estimate from public access in order to cover the other commissions that have not been covered. Is that included in the budget, Mary Ann?
It
Or
is.
is this something we were going to discuss at city council?
I was able to go back and look at our history. We had actually discussed that earlier in the summer when I went back to my documentation back in June or July. I was working with the mayor's office on that. So we had put in extra money for videoing other meetings as well.
Okay,
So I believe the budget as is supports that.
okay.
Excellent.
Because I thought their estimate was, I thought it was like 28,000, I thought, 18 or 28. Dave, do you?
I guess I would just add too that the one limitation we have isn't necessarily the money. It's the use of this room, because we have court in here and some other things, so that's kind of the scheduling difficulty with some of these bodies.
I understand, but I think as part of transparency of trying to get as many of the meetings being accessible, what was the number again, Dave?
I don't recall the exact number, so please don't hold me to it. I know that it was under 30,000, I believe.
I thought it was 28 something.
Yeah, and actually, I don't believe that the extra for that was in the current budget. That's my best memory of it.
That's what I
wasn't-
had thought.
Yeah, and I wasn't actually prepared to answer this question tonight, so
Okay.
please forgive me if I'm wrong on that.
When I went back and looked, and maybe this is related to the mayor's comment about opportunities in the room, I could see that there was about $7,000 extra put in there.
Yeah.
I didn't see the documentation that said it would be 28,000.
Yeah,
That seems
that was, I believe that
extreme.
was a letter to Mayor Rosenberg and to you.
okay.
And Chris put that together. I'm pretty sure, though, that that was a discussion about possible future money.
Okay.
And actually, the other item that we have on the agenda tonight assumes that the money that is in our current budget is going to be redirected for the upgrade of the system, not for what you're discussing.
Oh, I understand that.
Yes.
Dave,
Yes,
yeah,
I understood you say that as well.
right, right. Okay,
I
Go ahead,
pulled up, I pulled up the spreadsheet here, and so we currently allocate just under 11,000. And we'd need, just over 10,000 more.
Okay.
So it was 21,000 grand total for everything that you put
Okay.
together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I thought from what Chris had said that it was one number, and it could be like, I thought it was like 18, but then with the editing and cleaning it up and that, it would be like an additional 10 to get it ready for on air and that.
Sure.
Okay.
So I thought it was like 28,000.
Yeah, and to correct the editing remark, now we're trying to stream directly to YouTube and create a situation where we're minimizing editing.
Oh, okay.
So that does help us. There's a little bit of administration time and a little bit of time before and after meetings, but otherwise it's pretty clean. I had assumed that this discussion would happen in the future. I didn't expect it to actually happen tonight, though.
In the 2021 budget, if we've already funded continuing operations for public access, we expect always in the early part of the year that we'll receive surplus and carryover requests from within the departments. So when they need extra funding, and if we finish the year, hopefully we finish with the surplus that we're expecting, then we can look at carryover for unfinished work and also decide what we want to do with that surplus. If we want to save some of it in the contingency rainy day fund, and then if we want to go back to our work list and accomplish a little more, we certainly could entertain that at that time. If we find that you're short 10,000, we can do it through that process as well.
Yeah, I
It shouldn't be
agree.
because we increased it 7.
Okay, so we may be
In
just
the
short 3 or
budget.
4?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe some of that was because of room competition. I don't agree.
Okay.
I didn't have anything in my notes that disclosed why.
well, and I think
It's
it's
just
important
them.
that, for our committees, commissions, and boards, we've moved all of our standing committees to this room. But I think that for other committees, commissions, and boards, that the ones that we know are of wide public interest, we should encourage them to meet in this room as well. They don't all. Just as an example, the airport committee meets at the airport, and the, police and fire commission meets the police department. And there's a lot of things that don't meet here that we have difficulty recording. So I think, and we have a lot, there's a huge list of committees, commissions, and boards, some of which just will not have the viewership or the public interest, or the attendance for that matter. But other things that are, maybe of larger interest, we should look at, checking with the heads of those bodies and seeing if they'd be interested in moving to this room. That'll fill the calendar up in here even more. But I think that's an easier way for us to get them on the air than to try and record them remotely.
I would add to your comments as well that some of the boards and commissions don't meet on a regular basis.
True.
They meet ad hoc, and those would be very hard to get on a calendar and cover. So,
They would be, and, usually they only meet when they have something to handle, So, then hopefully we would know in advance that if it's something that's of wide enough interest that we could schedule it, but not on a routine rotating calendar, so.
Yeah,
But I think if we're short a, minor amount of funding, we can certainly look at it through surplus allocation too then. So we wouldn't have anything new on the budget then to modify. The budget that we've sent to council for tonight then would stay as is.
Yes.
And the only item we have left on our agenda is discussion and possible action on the general fund financial report. We're nearing the end of the year, so if you want to walk us through that report, Mary Ann, for how we're sitting.
This was on last meeting's agenda, and we were unable to get to it.
Yep.
From a revenue standpoint, we've been kind of reporting similar results throughout the year. Licenses revenues are going to fall below our budget expectations. The majority of that is due to some reductions in the licensing rates that we provided to some of the alcohol establishments in light of the COVID pandemic. And then also just a general decrease in bartender licenses issued. Again, with COVID and with the bars being reduced in how many people they can have in the establishment at any time, that's really impacted how many bartenders they need. So we are expecting to fall short on that revenue category. Another area where we are expecting to fall short is fines, forfeitures, and penalties. This has been kind of an ongoing issue, and we continue to decrease the revenue, and we did again in 2021. Our expectations in 2020, our fine revenue will be down for, I guess, a couple of reasons. One is during the Safer at Home, of course, and during this COVID, at least from conversations with the police department, some enforcement activity was decreased because of concerns over COVID exposure. People aren't driving as much, and so there's not as many cars on the road that actual citations can be given to. So those are decreasing, and of course, historically, we're seeing less in fine revenue. The other area that we were expecting a decline in revenues is our investment income, because interest rates have declined. But as you can see, we have exceeded budget, but we're not going to match 2019 actuals due to that decreased interest rate. Areas that in the revenues area that are looking great are our permits, $440,000 compared to $290, and also compared to $350 last year. We've had a very good year as far as permits. Of course, both the water and sewer project added to that success. From an expense standpoint, things are looking very good. We continue to lag budget. One other thing in the revenues is, of course, we qualified for Routes to Recovery grant from the state of Wisconsin. We have received $468,000 so far this year, and we have one payment outstanding that we have yet to receive. And then from the expense standpoint, you can see that we did create an emergency government COVID-19 account under public safety. We've accumulated about $136,000 of new expenses for things like PPE or other protective supplies. Some of the items we've been able to submit to the state that are outside PPE would be things like when employees are required to stay at home, particularly our public safety employees because of COVID-19 concerns. So that is the main difference between the revenue and expense. So we are expecting a profit in 2020. So that's good.
It is good, it is good. As the year winds down, and so far, we've not had a ton of snow. I mean, I hate to jinx us, because we're gonna have a little tonight, but, yeah, right, knock on wood. With that, does anyone have questions on this report, where we're at so far this year? If not, we'll place that report on file. We don't have to take action on that. And then that concludes our agenda for tonight, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Watson, is there a second? Second by Herbst. Members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No one's ever opposed. We'll stand adjourned, and then Common Council will start in this chamber at 6:30. Thanks, everyone.